Hello, I'm Jeff, and I started the first LGBT group in the UPVOTE region back in 2003. It's now the 20th anniversary of that accomplishment. The catalyst for this happening was me going to San Francisco Pride the week prior, which is the last week of June. And it was such a surreal experience for me as a gay man in a small town to go out to the big city and to see such a huge display of gay people and LGBT people being widely accepted. Accepted, loved, and celebrated. It was a shock for me to go there and see gay couples holding hands in public with no fear. This was so inspiring to me. However, my hometown was UPVOTE, and San Francisco's very far away. There's, of course, a gay community in Sacramento with gay bars and a gay center there, LGBT center. And that's cool, but that's too far. Even back then, the price of fuel, that's just too far of a drive. 45 minutes away from Sacramento, a couple hours away from San Francisco. So I decided for me to find people who were like me and to be myself, I had to start the first LGBT group. And it's pretty surreal to think about me, of all people. Are you serious? I only took one class in college, public speaking, which served me well. I got an A. But yet here I am, a guy with not a great job, a guy with not a great education background, just a nobody in a small town, and I'm going to start the first LGBT group? Okay, nobody else is going to do it, it seems. I got to do it.
They're out here to make their voice heard and let everybody know they're not alone.
I want to make a group so that people can come out and find out that there are people who are like them and that they don't have to be afraid of coming out and segregated and opposed just for being different.
I went out to Plymouth Street, and some family members and loved ones were with me, and we called out the media. Back then there were some local TV stations that don't exist anymore, and also the local newspaper. I went to Plymouth Street. I set up a table. Plymouth Street is a major street in Yuba City at the corner of a very popular music store. It was called the Underground. When I was in San Francisco, and also I stopped at Sacramento, I got a whole bunch of brochures and literature to pass out. Before I started this group, the only display of anything gay related, anything LGBT related, was one person posted a no on Prop 22 sign way back years before, in the year 2000, when Proposition 22, which was one of the gay marriage bans, was on the ballot. One lone brave person put up that sign. I have no idea to this day who that is. I would love to one day know who that brave person was. They're very brave. Chokes me up. It gets me emotional to think of whoever that brave person was. And I never met them. I don't know who they are. As far as I know, I've never met them. Maybe they still weren't around by the time the UPVOTE group started. So I went out to Plymouth Street, and in the demonstration, I provided my phone number or email for people to contact me. I think that was a very brave thing to do at that time. I asked the newspaper to include my phone number. They did. I also had a clipboard and was gathering emails and phone numbers of anybody who wanted to sign up when I was out there on Plymouth Street. We were out there for a good number of hours, and the calls started coming in, and it was surreal. And within a few months, we organized the first potluck. We basically did potlucks nearly every month thereafter. I organized a group of leadership, and we named it UPVOTE Pride. I think it started in September 2003, and then thereafter we just kept doing them. There were local people who volunteered to host the potlucks at their houses. It was typically 18 and older, although nothing racy going on, but it was typically an 18 and older or 21 and older if alcohol was present. It was up to the discretion of the host.
I am talking about the parties that we used to have with UPVOTE Pride. You know, be able to be with people that weren't afraid to hold hands or anything like that. I mean, it was just one of the most, to me, I don't know, what word do I want to use? Exhilarating? Very exhilarating, because you could feel the unity in it. And that's what I liked about it, the unity.
There were a few events that were for all of the families, all ages. In those instances, there were couples who had children who were the host of those events, and there was no alcohol, and those things were intended to be family friendly. For a period of time in 2004, there was a bar called Martini's 227, and they would host us on Sunday nights. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do any of that stuff. but I really appreciated that there was a social setting that was open to us. So we had bar nights for people who wanted to dance and socialize and drink, and then we had the monthly potlucks. This was a era which the internet was not even really commonly accessed. I mean, most people by 2003 did have the internet, but still was slow connections and not the primary place that you connected with people. But it was getting there. We used to have Yahoo groups and Craigslist and MySpace. At the time, I was still married to a woman. I was in the closet at the time that we married. I married young in the year 2000 at the age of 20. After coming to terms with the fact that I was gay, I decided I could not continue living the lie. By November of 2003, my marriage was finally over. I felt a lot of guilt that I had gotten into this marriage. She knew beforehand that I was attracted to men, and she knew that it was a risk that she was going to take. Because of the stigma about being gay and the societal pressures, I tried to change and suppress it. I even went to some religious groups in the Sacramento area that were with that organization Exodus, and we were trying to change being gay and pray away the gay and all that type of stuff. And I have to say, that meeting that I went to was the saddest human energy I've ever been, other than a funeral for a baby and a child. Those are the most negative energies I've ever been in my entire life. All of the guys who were attending that Exodus meeting just seemed so miserable. The time frame that I'm talking about going to these Exodus meetings was probably in the early 2003, before later coming out and deciding I couldn't live that lie anymore. In the nearby years that I had started this group, gay people had been attacked and killed. I felt I was taking a substantial risk, especially somebody who had no college education. How was this going to impact me regarding jobs? If I'm in the newspaper and employers see me there, are they going to hire me? Are they going to hire that gay guy in the newspaper? Because back in 2003, it was not easy to be openly gay like it is today. Now, everything is so pro-LGBT and pro-gay, and it's surreal to see the progress that's happened politically and the progress that's happened with social acceptance. To give you perspective of how anti-gay Yuba Sutter used to be, Proposition 22 in the year 2000, and then flash forward to Proposition 8 in the year 2008. Both of those propositions passed in Yuba Sutter counties, the Yuba and Sutter County regions, by nearly 70 to 80%. That's how much we were opposed. Our congressman was entirely anti-gay. He sponsored one of the Defense of Marriage Act bills that never got anywhere when George W. Bush was president. One of my favorite moments was confronting Congressman Wally Herger. You see in the picture, there I am pointing my finger at him, letting him know what's up. He is in the wrong side of history. And I was the lone voice at that meeting. I got booed, and sometimes I would go out and do demonstrations, and I would be the lone single person. A woman who worked at the Yuba City Health Department, her name was Ann. She reached out to me and connected with me, and she became a big supporter of the group and found the resources with the county to help us with the development of our group. And they sponsored our newsletter, and they would include messaging regarding HIV testing that the county was doing and promoting safer sex options. Unfortunately, there was some divisiveness and a split in 2005. There was a breakaway group, and that group lasted a couple of years. At the time, it hurt me a lot. I was getting criticized for being too political. I was an activist because I would promote equal rights activism with the group Equality California, and I later became a chapter leader for Equality California in 2005 to 2007. Regarding the people who led the breakaway split, I later learned that many activists who go out and accomplish great things face a lot of infighting and a lot of backstabbing and smack talking by people who should be the allies, my fellow LGBT people, but some of them who are immersed in their fear and jealousy, they start projecting all their negative feelings onto me because I'm out there at the forefront actually having the bravery to do the things that they can't rise to the occasion to do. It took me a long time to learn that. I didn't understand it back then, and there was no how to start a gay group in a rural military-based town for dummies. That breakaway group disbanded a couple years later. In 2007, the group changed its name from Yuba Sutter Pride to Yuba Sutter Unity, but by the end of 2007, I was burned out and I couldn't continue the group, and I couldn't find anybody to keep it going, so it ended at the end of 2007. In 2008, I was employed with the No on 8 campaign, working 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week, usually doing something related to the campaign on the 7th day, trying to get in some laundry. That took me to San Francisco. Later, towards the end of the campaign, I went up to work in Sacramento, and when I was there, on my rare time off, I would come to Yuba Sutter and organize some phone banks up here. The campaign didn't want to do that because they wanted phone bank centers based out of the major city areas. Their logic was that they could get the most volunteers, and the small towns were just not enough volunteers could be amassed to accomplish their phone banking objectives. I had no say over the strategy of the No on 8 campaign. I was a low-level volunteer recruiter and trainer, so don't blame me for the loss because I had nothing to do with the strategy. Prior to Prop 8, the California Supreme Court had legalized gay marriage a few months earlier, and then the anti-gayers took it to the ballot. They got it overturned at the ballot with Proposition 8 in 2008, but then the overall United States Supreme Court ruled for marriage equality in 2015. Now, I'm not being perfect with my chronological timeline. Let's go back before 2015. Let's go back to 2011. I returned to Yuba Sutter for a period of time between 2011 and 2012, and I revived the LGBT group. We are starting a new gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender, and also straight supporter group in the Yuba Sutter community. Yuba Sutter used to have a visible gay group called Yuba Sutter Unity that existed from 2003 till the end of 2007. And after that, things kind of fizzled out. And although there were some other things here and there, Yuba Sutter really hasn't had a very visible and public LGBT group since the end of 2007. After the LGBT community pretty much disappeared, there was a little group that was meeting at some Starbucks in Yuba City, but they weren't advertising. They weren't doing anything to be really well known to the public, advertising in the media, getting media attention.
The reason why I came back to Yuba Sutter to make one more attempt to restart and revive having a visible, viable LGBT group here is because when I was gone from the area for about 3 years, I continued to receive calls periodically from people asking, how can I find LGBT people? How can I find gay people? It's because you do a web search of gay Yuba City, Marysville, gay Yuba Sutter, and all you found was the archives to the Yuba Sutter Unity group. It breaks your heart, and it is so damaging to people when you look in a community and you don't see anybody else like you, and all you see is hostility.
When I led Yuba Sutter Pride, I tried to get us into the local newspaper as frequently as possible. I would often write letters to the editor. I would often write commentaries, op-eds, and as often as I could, I tried, when we had special events, to get the media, the local paper, to come out. And they were pretty good. They came out, I think they came out nearly all the time, and they would cover our events.
We're really about inclusiveness and ensuring that we have a place in the community and that our heterosexual supporters and loved ones know that they are welcome to join us and participate. The group is welcome to people of all walks of life, regardless of your politics, your religion, your gender, etc. And we feel the name Yuba Sutter Unity just really represents that great vision of inclusiveness.
So I came back in 2011 and I restarted the group, and this time we called ourselves Got Bliss, which was an acronym for gay, other, transsexual, bisexual, lesbian, intersex, and straight supporter. People thought that was too wordy and awkward of an acronym, so later, after I left the area, I turned the group over into the hands of the people who took over after I left. They changed the name to Tri-County Diversity by 2014, and the group attained nonprofit status, and they continue to have events and get publicity in the local paper. Although it was risky to be out because it was an era of the prevailing views being against gays, being openly gay, and being out and having marriage equality and being out in the military. It's a military town, Bill Air Force Base out there. Despite that, there were a couple people who wrote negative letters to the editors against me, but I never received any substantial worrisome threat.
What are you guys doing in a little old small hick town like this, man, trying to promote your Really? Small town. We got kids here, man, and like morals and stuff. You got me on camera, dude? Yep. You know what? I'm gonna have to take that.
You will have the police here and they'll arrest you.
And they're right there. I got one right across the street.
They're right there.
My brother's a sheriff here in town, by the way, guys.
That's nice.
You know what I mean?
Right there.
Can you help us?
Taking my picture, huh? You guys will be hearing about this.
Sure.
That's fine.
Believe me.
You're entitled to that.
Okay.
You're entitled.
Taking my
Freedom of speech.
This is a public event.
Exactly. Public.
Have a good day, huh?
God bless you.
Yeah, you too. I'll be back because you don't get
God bless.
We're gonna pray for you. It's so sad.
Stop the hate. Yeah, my name is Ben. This is my wife Julie.
Hello. You guys from the
hate.
you guys from the area?
Yep, we are local. I love your signs. Thank you.
I know that's what I get. That was the first thing I got. Awesome signs.
We love our soldiers. We love our freedom.
We used to have a lot more online forums and communities by the local papers and local websites, and I'd get on some arguments and debates online with some anti-gayers who were really obsessed. I am all for it if it leads to more gay bashing. Regarding the end of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Why is it important for people of your sexual persuasion to invoke your sexuality upon others? I hope all you queers and lesbos all rot in hell because that's what you're doing to America. Why don't you shut your mouth and go back to your boyfriend, you effing blank licking piece of trash. The United States is no place for gays. Homosexuals' perverted lifestyle that does not gel with military life. The Bible has said no to gays. Hardcore anti-gayers either seem to be repressed homosexuals themselves, or they have a family member who's gay and then they get all freaked out about it, or they have a severe, zealous religious belief. And I have to say, there are people who do oppose homosexuality, and we could still be friends and allies. There were people in UPVOTE who were people I consider friends that did oppose homosexuality for their religious views. But because we were both supporters of liberty and equal rights and live and let live and libertarian ideas about limited government, I was able to network and ally with a lot of different people. I would go out to events, even like the Sikh festivals, and be out there gathering signatures for the Equality California stuff that was being promoted for equal rights at that time. One of the fun things was confronting the local elected officials, James Gallagher, Doug LaMalfa. That was fun.
You have a record of consistently voting against equal rights for gay and lesbian folks. Why is that?
Equal rights is a term that means a lot of different things that I don't agree with the uses of that in this particular discussion.
How about the freedom to marry? Why have you voted against that? When it was before Governor Schwarzenegger, you voted against that. Why?
People have the freedom to marry that are of opposite sex.
Would you like me as a gay person to marry one of your female relatives?
You're too close again. Move back.
You are the co-chair of what?
Yes, on Prop A.
So why is it that you don't support the freedom to marry for gay and lesbian couples?
I do support the freedom to marry.
You do?
Yeah.
For gay and lesbian couples to marry the person of the same gender that they love?
Well, that's not marriage.
It's not marriage?
Yeah.
Why is it not marriage?
Well, marriage is a covenant relationship between one man and one woman,
And why is that?
defined by all history and cultural practice throughout the centuries. So
Not true. History's been redefined many times. So how is banning interracial marriage, traditional marriage? How is the fact that marriage licenses didn't even exist until modern times?
They're still in politics, both of those guys. It was a surreal time, a big part of my life. Because I started that group, I enabled so many people to come together and develop friendships and relationships that otherwise, in the course of history, may have never happened. I mean, it's the butterfly effect, right? You never know how the course of history could have gone this way or that way had some other series of events happened. But because I had the bravery to go out and start that group, there was a lot of people who developed friendships and relationships that have lasted to this day.
I love Jeffrey. I mean, he is my brother from another mother. Never know that he will flake. Whatever work he's into, I know he's going to get done.
Jeff has not only helped me get into activism and fighting for what I believe in for once, as opposed to just standing on the sidelines, but he's made me a stronger gay man. I feel more confident in my abilities. I feel more confident in being gay. I'm less afraid.
Jeff's impact on the community has been great. He was always organizing and active, being an activist that he is, always contacting me for Prop 8 and whatever else the community was needing or whatever was coming from the other communities to help our community home base here.
through our conversations, I realized what Jeff stood for, and he allowed me to look deep inside at myself and realize that there was an activist in there and a leader for our gay community.
Jeff was always on the phone with me wanting to know one thing or another about what should I do about this situation or this event, and he was always very communicative, in the spirit of collaboration about events that he was doing, very much tuned into perfecting his ability to reach out to people and to bring people together in the spirit of collaboration.
Jeff was the primary mover and shaker, community organizer in Yuba County and Sutter County, and these are semi-rural counties in Northern California. I was blown away by the kind of work Jeff did because he was involved both in the social scene and politically aware and politically active. And he has this incredible passion for that area.
We were able to recognize all of his work and all of his endeavors at one of our In Honor Of shows, which was where we pick out certain individuals that have excelled in supporting their community. Whenever there was a need that, a certain topic would hit the community, Jeff was there to embrace it, like marriage equality. Jeffrey has excelled in supporting his community and is a top-notch activist.
If I could do it all over again, I don't know if I would. I'll be honest, I don't know if I would, because it was a lot of work and sometimes it was very thankless, but there were plenty of people who did express gratitude and let me know that they appreciated how my efforts enabled people to come together. Most of all, what I feel good about is that I stood up for myself and that I was honest and truthful with myself and finally had some courage and bravery to come out of the closet. I feel good about the fact that I was able to do something brave in an era where there were teachers, there were people who worked at hospitals, there were people who were much more educated and financially successful than I was and had more impressive educational backgrounds, but they didn't have the bravery to start the group. I did. And I'll always feel good about that. Now here it is, 20 years later, look how much progress has been made for equal rights. I feel like gay and lesbian people have definitive equal rights after the 2015 Supreme Court ruling and after the end of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and all the following subsequent laws that have been passed solidifying equal rights for gay couples. Transgender people have a different walk of life, and that is obviously in this day still a hot button issue politically. And I don't know that that's going to be resolved anytime soon. There's probably many more years ahead of that going through the court of public opinion, and we'll see how that ends up going. I'm just a nobody. I'm just a guy who started the first LGBT group when I decided I didn't want to go to Sacramento and San Francisco. I was a small town person and I stayed there in my hometown for a while. But now I've lived out of Yuba Sutter. I haven't lived in Yuba Sutter since 2012 was when I left and I turned over the group to the other people. And the last time I visited Yuba Sutter was in the year 2015. So I haven't been to my hometown in quite a while. I keep up with the local paper and I see there's still LGBT events being organized, and that's great. Hopefully 20 years into the future, we'll see what will happen. We'll see, is it going to be such a non-issue in the future that nobody will even be thinking twice about it, or will there be steps backwards? We'll see.
We have such a potential to do so many good things for people in this community, whether it's helping people with HIV services and HIV prevention, or helping people in these hard economic times find places where they can work and not worry about non-discrimination. Whether it's our transgender friends and helping them find health supportive access for the things that they need. We need you. Everybody is essential in making things better.
When the group was renamed Yuba Sutter Unity in 2007, I came up with a catchphrase, and I'd like to end this video with that catchphrase. Together, we will reach the rainbow above the buttes. I'm Jeff. Thank you for watching.